Hey, what's up, you guys? Kraken, the cryptocurrency exchange, allows you to download. They've got this page here where you can download the historical market data. Basically, there's these CSV files, and it contains basically trading data. It says here the three things that are listed in there: the exact date and time of each trade, the price at which the trade occurred, and then the amount that was traded. So I downloaded this. It's about the zip file for all of the cryptocurrency pairs here. It's about 4 GB. And then if you, let's see, let me take a look here. If you open up, if you uncompress it, it comes out to about 16 GB. And what you end up with, let me take a look here. What you end up with when you unzip that is you have a bunch of CSV files, one for all the cryptocurrency pairs that they support. And so what I was wondering is basically I wanted to import this. I guess you could mess around with the CSV directly, but I wanted to import this into a proper database, just to do the analysis from there. So that's what I've been looking into, and I set up a C# project, and I used Entity Framework Core to load the data into PostgreSQL. I have this Visual Studio solution here with a few different projects that are used in different aspects of loading the data into the database. Let's see here. I'll begin with the database project itself. Basically, the entity framework models are in here, so we can get a feel for what kind of data is we're importing. There's different, cryptocurrencies that are supported, in the list. And let's see. So I have a symbol class for the different symbols, like Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. Pretty typical entity framework class. You just have an ID, and then we're gonna have a name for it. Now this is the the main class here, or to represent the trades. Essentially, as they described on the page, right? We want to hold these three items: the date, the price, and then how much was bought. So we represent that here. The timestamp, the price, and the quantity. Now in this table, I also keep track of the actual symbol, or I guess the cryptocurrency trading pair symbol. So for example, like XBT USD would be for Bitcoin. And then I have an ID, right, because it's an entity. I have now I'm tracking the symbol ID. That's the actual thing that's stored in the database. But then I have a navigation property because it's entity framework, and that's just for convenience. Now I included these two columns because if you query this data through their API, it does provide for you these two additional fields, but it looks like these are not available in the CSD or CSV data when you download from that zip file I was mentioning to you. So let's see. Give me one second. So the strategy here for importing all the data is basically, download the CSV data. Now, whenever you download it from their site, it gives you the trading pair or the data up to the most recent complete quarter. So I'm recording this in December of 2021. So when you download this file, it'll give you the trading data from the time that it's from when it began for any particular trading pair, up until so the most recent quarter that's completed as of this time is September of 2021. So when you download this file, basically you're getting all the data up through September. And of course, they started supporting different cryptocurrencies at different times. So like if you look at Bitcoin, XBT, USD, it looks like I think they started back in like 2014 or something like that. And then there's other ones that just started like maybe this year. So obviously different starting points, but they all come up to September. Now, to get the data after September 2021, that's when you have to rely on their API. So there's like a multi-step or multi-phase process in importing all the data. Now, anyways, so I wanted to mention that to say if you query the trading data through API, it does provide these two properties. Whereas when you get it from the CSV, these are not present. So, anyways, I do track them just for the more recent data. And besides that, so this class here represents what we're gonna get through CSV files and API. But once you have that in the system, a lot of people will do analysis based or using like candle data, plotting the candle chart, candlestick data, etc. And so I do have a class for this. So although we're not going to be querying Kraken for their candlestick data, we can generate candlestick data from this trading data. And so that's what this class is for. So we'll have another table just for that. And similarly, so candlesticks, right? This is, we're going to keep the high, low, open, and close prices and the time. And then the way I have this structured is in the candles, I have one candles table where we hold all the candles data for the different I guess candle intervals. So for every entry, for every candle, I also keep track of, a month, week, minute, day candle, and then, how many. So these fields can be used to represent, like if you have 1 month candles, the candle unit will be, the month unit, and then interval will just be one. And then this being entity framework, we have a DB context. So we're going to keep track of, these are our different tables, right? So trades, symbols, candles, and that's it for this file. Okay, now, so I was just showing you, like I say, this project. Kraken's database project in the solution, it's actually just a library project, so it's not something you would execute. It's used by these other projects. So let's skip forward to this other project, Kraken Import CSV. It's just a simple console program that takes care of importing all those CSV files. You basically just set the path to where the CSV files are located, and it takes care of importing them into the database using just a bunch of entity framework code. And I time it because this actually takes a while. If you ingest the CSV data directly into PostgreSQL using their utilities, obviously it's going to be a lot faster. So there's some overhead here. To ingest all 16 gigabytes of CSV data, I believe last time I did it on my system, it took about 5 hours. So it's not very fast, but it appears to work well. There may be some ways to speed this along. Interestingly, the first time I set up this project to get all the data from Kraken, I actually used SQLite just to see what would happen. I generally reach for that first. It's a little less overhead than like PostgreSQL or SQL Server. And believe it or not, the import on SQLite happened a little faster. I believe the same data completed in about 4 hours. So with PostgreSQL, it was about 5 hours. So just an interesting difference there. However, the reason that I did not stick with SQLite was because the resulting queries were fairly slow. And when I switched to PostgreSQL, while the import was slower, the queries were a lot faster. So anyways, after you import the data into PostgreSQL, you can pop into your into you can basically query PostgreSQL directly just to confirm you got the data in there. So here I'm just running. Let's take a look at the trades database, and we'll just take a look at the first 10. And so you can see everything's populated. There's the three key quantities that we're getting from CSV, right? Price, quantity, timestamp. These are actually not valid for a lot of the like I say, if you get it from CSV, they're actually blank, and so we just get default values there. I'm not using these, so I'm not really I don't really care that they're incorrect for some of this data. And then of course, right, the symbol ID, that's the actual cryptocurrency trading pair that we're keeping track of. So yeah, so once that's imported, let's see. Okay, so I paused the recording and kicked off this Kraken import CSV. I guess at some point I had removed some of the, I started over from scratch, and so I actually don't have a complete import right now, but you can take a look at what it looks like when I run it. It goes through each of the CSV files, and if it sees that I already imported it, it says, already added. So you see a bunch of these, I've already added in. But for the ones I haven't added in, it'll say like, we're adding, you know, BAT XBT, right? So that's basic attention token and versus Bitcoin. And then it imports them like about 10,000, I think, at a time. I need to check what is the, let's see here. Yeah, I know I'm doing 100,000 at a time. So when it says starting batch, and it says, doing importing that 400 or that 100,000 of them took 4 seconds. This next one took 6 seconds, etc. And when it completes importing that, it finally tells you, okay, how many records it brought in. So 294,000 trades, and it took a total of 19 seconds. And then it's just telling you, how many it ran through per second. So 15,000 per second. I was keeping the statistics just to see like how performant is the actual data ingestion. So, and you can see there it completed that one, and then it moved on to this one. Um, obviously there was fewer trades on this cryptocurrency pair. But anyway, that's what the import kind of looks like. And I'll just stop this so we can continue on. Okay. Okay, so that covers, that's an overview of this Kraken import CSV program. And like I said, using that, you're going to get data up through the most recent completed quarter. But since we're in December, now we'd like to get the more recent data, so everything after September, so October, November, and then the partial month of December. So I've got this Kraken import CSV program that basically takes care of getting the same data but through their API and storing it in the database. And without going through everything here, I guess what I'll show you is, let's see here. Essentially, let's see. Yeah, sorry about that. I was taking a look at the CSV program. Yeah, now I'm on the API one. Um, the way that I do this is I don't want to look at every cryptocurrency pair that I have in the database and then pull the most recent data because I may not be interested in all that, and it does hammer their servers, um, quite a bit and maybe unnecessarily. So I usually will only update the ones that I'm, interested in. So like for example, XBT USD is Bitcoin. You can do a lot of analysis is obviously performed on that. So I have the code set up to just import that one alone. And if I want some other ones, I was testing with some of these other ones here. But basically, I'm just saying, just import this one. And when you run it, it's getting, here it is, and it's currently running actually. And it started grabbing, as you can see here. It just says, requesting trades via API, and it shows you the date and time that it's basically it looked in the database and says, okay, I see the most recent trades information is at this timestamp, and so it's making a query to the Kraken API for everything from that point on, and it gets a certain amount of them, right? And then it looks at that batch and says, okay, what's the most recent one on there? And then it continues querying from there until it gets up to the current period. So anyway, it's just current, and there's a rate limiting function on Kraken API, so I fooled around with the timing here. It takes, it does 2 second pause between each query, and if it times out, it pauses a little longer. So with these current timings, it seems to time out fairly rarely. So anyway, so that's that program, and I'll cancel out of that for now. Okay, so just to summarize, like I said, we've got so far we have the Kraken Trades Database Library project, um, which again isn't an executable, it's just the database entities. And then we have Kraken Import CSV to bring in the data from the CSV files, and then finally Kraken Import API. And that's enough right there to get the data into your database and start, maybe running queries either from C# programs or from for just running SQL queries directly at a console. But I wanted to go a little further and then generate the candles data so we can do some plotting and stuff like that. So this other program I have here, Kraken Candles, it will go through the trades and generate candle data for the given trades we have in the database. Now, occasionally what will happen is, like, let's say you import all your CSV data, you do that once, and then you'll periodically import through API through the API program to get your up-to-date data. And so when you do that, your candles will now be out of date. Like, let's say you updated like last week, and so your candle data is only going to go up through last week. So if you want to do some analysis today and include the previous all the days but since then, you'd run another import through API, and then you would refresh the candles. And so that's what this code basically does. Now, the first time you run it, you don't have any candle data, and so it generates from the beginning of the trades. But you know, when you're dealing with there's all different kinds of sizes of candles that you can work with, right? And I have here basically the code here is setting up for Bitcoin. I'm setting up 1 month candles, 1 week candles, 1 day candles, 1 hour candles, and then 15-minute candles. But you can have any kind of other variation. They're just going to get you can whatever I have a few others that I've messed around with here. I can just uncomment those and run the program, and it'll add those. But it takes up a lot of space in the database. Well, maybe not obviously not as much as the trades, but I've just been adding the ones that I've been messing around with. Okay, so I kicked off an instance of this Kraken tables or Kraken candles program, and you can see here that basically it's saying for each of these candles that I've requested that it update, like for example the 1 month candle, it's saying okay, it's checking the database for the current candles, and it goes to the most recent candle and actually removes it because that one may be incomplete, and then it goes through and then adds everything. It looks for trades that came in after um, the most recent completed candle, and then it generates candles for all the trades after that. And you can see here it's basically doing that for um, these other candles that I've defined. So that's great. Um, all right, so here I'm just showing a query directly to PostgreSQL, where we're going to take a look at that candles table, and I'm saying candle unit is the week candle, and yeah, so I'll run that one. I'm converting the time to UTC here because PostgreSQL stores it using local time. But anyway, besides that, it's a fairly straightforward query. So if we run that, we can just see here for, let's see here. Well, actually, we're looking at all the candle data. We're not specifying which symbol we want, but well, we only asked for Bitcoin, so that's why it's showing symbol ID 50. It happens to correspond to XBT USD. But anyways, you can see here we've got our high, our low, our open, our close. The candle unit is a week, and the interval is 1. And yeah, so fairly straightforward representation of the data there. And let's see. So the last thing that I wanted to show here is once you've got all the data imported and you've generated your candles, one of the things you can do is, so over here we're in Visual Studio 2022, and now I'm going to switch for a second to Visual Studio Code because Visual Studio Code supports .NET Interactive Notebooks, and I have this file, this notebook in the same solution in a directory. And this is just like a kind of a scratch pad that I have. But you can see here, importantly, I'm importing the Kraken Trades Database DLL. And this is what's generated from this project here, the Kraken Trades Database. So from within our notebook, we can now access the database, right? So here, let's see here. I'll just run that again to import it. Okay, so right here, I'm basically importing the namespace, right, setting up the database context, and now right here I can say db.symbols just to get a list of the symbols, and you can see it's giving me a summary there. It doesn't show all of them, but you can see this is what the table looks like. So the nice thing about this is you can basically interact. I mean, normally you'd use like SQL queries to interactively interact with your database. But here you can just write C# code to interact through with it through the Entity Framework. And so now we can take a look at the trades table. We'll just take the first 10 entries, and that's what that looks like. The navigation property symbol is null because I haven't explicitly included it. That's expected. And I have just a bunch of little experiments that I was messing around with here. But what I really wanted to show you is this other notebook here, which just is a quick demonstration. So let's see, what do I want to show you here? All right, so I've got this notebook here, and I've got a function here which basically takes the candle data for a given trading pair and sets up a plot for it. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking the Bitcoin XBT USD, right? It's Bitcoin, the 1 month candles data, and then the 1 day right here candle data, and I'm setting up graphs for those. So if we run this, we get our chart. And while it's not clear that when we're zoomed out, if we zoom in a little bit to, let's say, well, let's go into this section here, back in the 2017 bull market. Now you can see the daily candles is obviously more detailed, higher resolution, and then you can see the blue line is just the 1 month candle data, so a little more straight line there. But that's just to demonstrate, you can plot the data fairly easily once you have everything loaded in the database. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to demo for now. See if there's anything else. Yeah, okay. So I think the last thing I wanted to show was something about the candles data, the way I'm generating it versus like the way TradingView does it. So if we pull up TradingView, and you can pick these different candle intervals, but you can also add custom ones. And so here I've added, if you put in, like, I typed in 9, months and click add, and here I got this, customized candle interval for 9 months. So whatever. So here we're looking at the 1 month data, right? And so pretty straightforward. Every candle represents 1 month. Right here, I'm on December, here in January, February, etc. So what happens when we go to the 9 month candle data? Well, let's start from, let's say, any given year. Yeah, okay, 2017, January. Okay, there's our candle, and it's a 9 month candle. Now the next candle starts at October, so that makes sense. That's after 9 months. However, if we look, if we would, you might think, okay, this candle should be 9 months, but if you go to the next one starts in January, so this one's actually only a 3-month candle, and the pattern continues. So you have January, October, January, October, right? So so really, instead of a bunch of uniform 9-month candles, you actually have 9 months, 3 months, 9 months, 3 months, 9 months, etc., etc., etc. So it pretty much always like truncates at the beginning of the year, and I just wanted to show that because there's the way that I'm generating the candlestick data in my code. I was interested in uniform candles. I wanted everything, like, if I asked for 9 month candles, I truly wanted 9 month candles. I didn't want them to be truncated at the beginning of the year. So the I just want to point out there's actually a lot of little different strategies that you can set up for that, and I've been messing around with that in the code. So if there's some other way that you'd like to have your candles laid out, you can obviously come in here and mess around with that. The other interesting thing is, for the different units, there's different strategies for how you actually can decide, like, how to group the data. The stuff I have here, like you can see here for month, this is how I'm grouping the data into the candle, and then for week, it's actually a different approach. And let's see, yeah, the daily candle is actually slightly different from those two, but day and hour are actually similar. So I've been messing around with different approaches to grouping that. If you find a better way, feel free to let me know. The candle generation code is actually slower than I would like. I think, like, to generate the candles for, like, Bitcoin, I want to say it takes about 7 minutes to go through all the data. So I'd say it's fairly slow. Um, I've been looking around. I've been looking around for places where I may be able to speed that up. For example, like if I leave out, I seem to recall that if I leave out the code for looking for the open and close, but just include the high and the low, it's a lot faster. But this right here really slows it down. So, anyways, yeah, this can certainly be optimized, but I don't run that very often, so it's not a huge priority. So, yeah. So, anyways, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to share here. This is not for everybody. Most people are happy getting their analysis data directly from TradingView using PineScript or whatever, or even exporting a CSV from TradingView. Some people who are using Python to do their analysis are happy using like something like Yahoo Finance API or some of the others that are available, or even some of the Exchange APIs. And that's typically for small projects, that's the way to go. Like I said, I had just been curious about, what would it be like to actually have all of the Exchange data on my system locally to do my own analysis, like, using, like I say, using SQL queries and C# code and local interactive notebooks. So yeah, it's been fairly interesting. I looked at a few different exchanges, and Kraken seemed to be the friendliest as far as like getting all their data. I looked at like Coinbase Pro, and so far I haven't seen a place where they themselves offer like their historical data in CSV. You could get it all through API. I'm imagining that's going to take a long time if you were to start from the beginning and query it without hitting the rate limits. I would assume you'd have to let it run for a long time. But if you know of any other exchanges that offer this sort of thing, I'd be interested to hear about them. So yeah, that's one really nice thing about Kraken. They have good support for this sort of thing. It would be nice to like I say, have a couple of other exchanges worth of data within the same database. That way you could kind of look at differences in prices between them and so forth. A lot easier. That's something that I think well, I mean, you could probably do stuff like that on TradingView, but having it here in your local in a local database makes that sort of analysis really easy. You can just say for any given day, let's look at like the price disparity on some of these, and that could be interesting to look at, for example. But like I said, it seems like not all the exchanges are as they don't offer the same kind of historical data all the time. But you have to hunt around. There are places where you can download it from, but it's nice that Kraken makes it straightforward. So, anyways, yeah, if you decide to use this, just let me know if you have any suggestions for improving, making some of these things faster, and I'd appreciate it. Okay, thanks. Good luck. Bye.